Bigfoot Collectors Club presents
Wet Hot Alien Summer 3 Saucerama.
Saucerama.
I thought I saw a flying saucer.
Saucerama. Flying saucers.
Saucerama.
Beep beep boop boop.
Wait, that's one classic saucer.
Saucerama. You do the horse math. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Bigfoot Collectors Club, the show where we talk to amazing guests about their personal paranormal history and share stories of high strangeness. I'm your host, Michael McMillan. With me always is your other host,
Bryce Johnson.
and your ultra-terrestrial producer,
Riley Bray.
Oh, boys, we're back together again. Wet Hot Alien Summer 3 Saucerama continues all summer long right here on the Clubhouse main feed and over on our Patreon, BCC The Other Side. We are delving into the classic era of the flying saucer, the golden age of the UFO, which falls between the years 1947 and 1960. And this week, we are dipping back into, well, Bryce will let you know as very soon, one of my favorite cases, the Hopkinsville Goblin case. We did this episode, this story of high strangeness, early days, and Bryce gives us a little bit of a recap, but this is the 1954 case about a family in Kentucky. 1955. I'm getting, you are on mic. You can jump in and say.
Yeah.
I thought it was 1954, not 1955.
No, 55. That's all right, though.
So this is the story about the, you're right, 1955, I stand corrected, of the family in Kentucky who saw a UFO maybe land in the backyard. We're going to get into it. And then little men with big ears and big eyes that were famously known as the Hopkinsville Goblins showed up in the yard, appeared into their windows, tormented this family all night long as they shot at it with guns. And then morning came and these things were gone. Yeah, big guns. These things were gone. It's a very classic close encounter story. And we have a very special guest who is going to be talking about this story with us.
Very exciting. I mean, not just a classic. This is a cornerstone.
Very much so. Cornerstone.
You do not want to miss this. Can't wait.
All right. Before we get into it, Riley, why don't you please nominate our 5-star Club Scout of the week who left us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, which helps the show.
Okay. Well, the subject of the review is, I'm going to need Riley to read this. That voice. Smirk emoji. Drool emoji. Oh, my. My goodness.
Laugh, cry emoji.
All right, here's the review. I started listening to BCC after hearing about it on Monsters Among Us and quickly realized it's hosted by none other than Reverend Steve Newlin and Detective Darren Wilden, and was sold. Seriously, though, you guys, along with Riley, are great, and I love how all of your different personalities, knowledge, and interests come together to create this monstrous masterpiece. 5 squatchy stars, Kate. Oh, thanks, Kate.
Thanks,
Love
Kate.
that.
I love it. Wow.
Great review.
Well-versed in your TV. I love it. You have wonderful taste in television, Kate.
And podcast host.
Thank you very much. That's right. Before we jump into this conversation, I want to remind everybody you can get your Saucerama merch for a limited time only. There's only about a month or so left to get your merch before summer ends. It's over at tpublic.com/Saucerama. Go get it, guys, before it's gone. Forget it.
I've been loving seeing like the posts of people receiving their merch. It makes me so happy.
Oh,
too.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really classy, sassy piece.
If you tag us, we will try to repost if we catch it in time. But
Totally.
we want to see you guys having a great time in this summer in all of your Saucerama stuff, okay? All right. Well, let's do it. Let's bring in our guest.
Boy, do I have a special treat, not only for the fans of Wet Hot Alien Summer 3 Saucerama, but for you guys, particularly for you, Michael, as I know that the Hopkinsville Goblin case of 1955 is one of your favorite saucer cases of all time, as well as mine.
I've been there. I've been to Hopkinsville, which we're going to talk about.
Yeah. Maybe that's because the guy and his best friend were involved in a shootout. Yeah, a shootout with aliens that supposedly came from a landing or crash nearby. Michael, that'd be like you and me and Riley blasting at some Shaver Lake creatures after seeing a UFO. Now,
Absolutely. With BB guns, of course.
With BB guns, of course.
That's all we have.
Now, on the evening of August 21st, 1955, 5 adults and 7 children arrived at the Hopkinsville police station claiming that small alien creatures from a spaceship were attacking their farmhouse and that they had been holding them off with gunfire for nearly 4 hours. 2 of the adults, Elmer Lucky Sutton and Billy Ray Taylor, claimed they had been shooting at a few short, dark figures who repeatedly popped up at the doorway and peered into the windows. But enough of my jibber-jabbing. If you want to know more about the details of the case, just go back and listen to an OG episode of BCC, episode number 4, The Hopkinsville Goblins, with special guest Paul F. Tompkins. What a treat he was. But back to the action. Michael, what if I told you that our guest tonight is none other than the daughter of Elmer Lucky Sutton, the man whose family's direct encounter with beings from another planet, or possibly even from another dimension, changed the dinner table discussion around aliens and UFOs permanently? She's the author of the books Alien Legacy and the Kelly Green Men Alien Legacy Revisited, and in my humble opinion, she's not just an incredible and absolute gem of a Kentuckian, but she's also the torchbearer for this incredible family's harrowing journey. Please welcome to the show, Miss Geraldine Sutton Stith.
Wow, we are honored, Geraldine. Welcome.
Indeed.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on here.
I'm so excited. Now, I don't know where to begin. So maybe we begin the way that we do with all of our guests on the show, and let us ask you, what is your personal paranormal history, right?
Oh, wow.
How did you come into the UFO phenomenon?
Well, it was handed to me. Didn't want it. Didn't want it. But it's, I guess you could say it's a legacy, because it was my dad, my grandmother, and some aunts and uncles that were there that night, 11 people in the house. So it's such a great story. I mean, I have found out that people absolutely love it. So, I've got to keep it going, and it looks like I'm the one that's going to be doing it. Nobody else is picking it up. So, here I am.
Yeah. To your point, Geraldine, didn't you just speak at a big MUFON event in Texas for the first time in a long time? Is that right?
Yes, this is my second MUFON symposium.
Wow.
I did one many years ago when I first started doing this. And I just did one last weekend. Of course, MUFON's gotten bigger and badder and, just out there in your face, actually. I was really surprised.
Is that good or bad, Geraldine?
How much it has grown since the first time I went. It's crazy. It's totally amazing, the crazy alien people you got out of here. But yeah, if you get invited to do MUFON, that is a step up in the extraterrestrial world, let me tell you. So I was really excited when I was asked to do it, and it was really great. It was like I was telling Bryce earlier, I was like a rock star, because I couldn't go 2 feet without somebody stopping me and wanting to talk to me about it. After I did my
talk, it's just so legendary,
because people were really stopping me and talking to me. I had a little booth set up the next day, and I had people coming up, handing me cards, going and coming. I want to do a podcast with you.
You're about to be a busy woman.
With you, so I'm going to be pretty busy probably coming up. I just had one contact me just here a little bit ago, wanting to get together, and I've got others scheduled also. But yeah, it's just crazy. People love this stuff. I mean, now is the time, because I heard some incredible stories myself while I was there, over the weekend. So, they're out there. People have them. Things have happened. I've heard things that I haven't even heard before. A lot of it's scientific stuff that's going right over my little head. they've got them people out there that are in, the physics and all that stuff that, like I said, go over my head. And, I can't even sit and listen to that stuff. I just, forget it all.
You and Bryce have a lot of that in common, actually.
But, stories I love. So, you got a good story. I can sit and listen to that all day. But,
well, speaking of which, Geraldine, I would wonder if you would do us the honor and take as little or as much time as you want with this. What was the story as it was told to you by your dad and your grandparents? How did you hear this story growing up? How would they tell it? Because you're the only one that's going to be able to pass this story along. So I'd love to hear it from your father's own words.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of funny because my parents kept this story hid from us. See, we didn't hear of it. Nobody talked of this when I was small. We found out by chance, and how we found out was it was 1969. I was 8 years old, and this man and woman come up to the house. It was a Sunday afternoon. It was right after church. And an 8-year-old mine, they were dressed in their Sunday best. And anyway, us kids were sitting there in the living room watching
Men in Black
Sunday afternoon cartoons. And there was a knock at the door, and I answered it, and there they were. And the man asked me, is your daddy home? Can I talk to him? And so I ran to the back of the house where my mom and dad was. My little brother had been born in February, and this was like summertime. And so they were back there with him, and I told my dad, there's somebody here to talk to you. So they both come to the door, baby on mama's hip, and the man told my dad, Mr. Sutton, we're here, and we want to talk to you about the green men. Green men. Okay, now, let's see about this, because even though I was 8 years old, I already loved sci-fi and horror. Back in 69, you got maybe 3 channels on the TV. But out of those 3 channels, you can find some amazing things sometimes. And I would catch the old, alien movies and all that. Island of Dr. Moreau, all this stuff was coming up, in black and white on the TV, and I loved it. So when he said green men, I thought, okay, this sounds very interesting. So my parents set us down on the floor. They sat down, and my dad started telling that incredible story. And it scared me to death afterwards. It ruined my sci-fi.
Oh, no.
Watch more alien movies. Even today, I am very picky about the alien movies I watch. I don't like abduction movies, anything like that, because to me they're terrifying.
What was it?
After hearing this, it does something to you. I would go around at night and shut all the doors and windows and curtains and shades, and just because I was afraid these things were going to come back and they were going to look in at us.
Jeez.
Mm-hmm.
I still do that nightly. I check out my window. I just do a check out the window. I don't know what I'm looking for or what I'm expecting to see. And as a matter of fact, I'm probably going to see something one of these days just from doing that every night.
Yeah.
I do that too.
But it's such a terrorizing sort of thing, that thing wanting to get in, that peer. It's real, and it happened.
I'll pull them open and I'll look at it before I go to bed. And one night, by golly, I opened it up and I seen this light come in. Of course, our bedroom's on the 2nd floor, and so there was this light coming across the sky there. I'm like, Chris, I said, there's something out here and I don't know what it is. And so I got my phone and I hit record. I was going to record this. I didn't care.
Heck yeah.
At the time, I thought, this could be something. And we watched it and we recorded it, and it got closer, and it was a doggone airplane.
Well, it's a good thing you recorded just in case.
Yeah.
So what was it about the way your dad told the story that frightened you so much about this encounter?
Well, because even at the door, when they asked to speak about this, you could see his demeanor just change. I mean, he went white. He looked at my mom, and it was like, wow, something's here. And then when he told the story, you could just tell, and my dad did not talk about this. They did not talk about this. They kept it well hid. We never heard anything about it. that day.
If I may chime in here, the ramifications, I think, of what took place after this experience, just, I think, kind of set the whole family off on like, I don't want to talk about it. Nothing but good has come from this. And then lo and behold, almost 10 years later, a couple people show up at the door, and that's, it's just so unbelievable that like you find out about it, sort of begrudgingly, your father sort of, the cat's out of the bag, I might as well come clean. This is what happened to our family. It's incredible. And wow, I mean, yeah.
What about the other family members, Geraldine? There were 11 people in the house that night. I know my family, some people don't like to talk about family stuff, and other people, that's all they want to talk about. Like, did anyone else in the family, like, confide in you, or were there other kids that were excited to hear this story?
Oh, no. This was not talked about. I mean, this was kept hush. I mean, the morning after this happened, my dad set them all down and told them, no good can come of this story. We need to stay quiet. Don't even talk about it. Don't think about it. It didn't happen. Because he heard the people the night before that came out to the farmhouse. They were making fun of them then. And so he knew that it was going to be bad. And it was. I mean, they were made fun of the rest of their lives, and even today, I can tell you an incident where my younger sister, she was working at a factory in Hopkinsville. She worked there for several years. And I guess nobody connected the dots. And one night somebody did. And it got out that she was one of the Suttons that was related to the Suttons that had the alien encounter. Well, that was it. They were making fun of her. And this was, about maybe 10 years ago when this happened. So, that shows you right
still
there.
to this day.
Yeah,
and, just to provide some quick context, I'm sorry to keep jumping in here like this, but, for our listeners, this is a time before the internet, right? Like, this is a time when it was just newspapers. And the day after this event happened to their family, the newspaper and radio stations descended on that farmhouse, not even a day after, probably like 12 hours. And this hit the wires so fast. You want to talk about going viral? This was viral before there was viral. You know that scene in Field of Dreams at the end when all the cars start showing up? Yeah. Cars started showing up the next day by looker-loos from out of town coming all over. That's how fast it hit the wire and the implication it had on this family. I mean, the whole world descended on this small farmhouse in Kelly.
Yes. I mean, people were coming from everywhere. They wanted to talk to them. They wanted to camp out and see if the aliens came back. They wanted pictures. They wanted to see them. And, my grandmother was just distraught because people were picking up souvenirs outside. They were walking through the house and picking up souvenirs.
Whoa.
Wow.
Robbing them blind. And she told my dad, said, what are we going to do? We're not going to have anything left. And so he went and talked to a police officer, and he went and he would run them off. But as soon as he would leave, they'd come back.
Wow.
My grandmother
intense.
sold the farm within 2 weeks and got off of there because number one, she was afraid they'd come back. Number two, she was just being, it was just a constant. People coming all the time.
Well, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the legacy and the impact and some of Geraldine's work. Okay, Geraldine, we're back, and I've been out to Kelly Hopkinsville on a road trip with a buddy and passed through there. And from my understanding, that farmhouse, and now clarify for me, it was your grandparents' farmhouse?
Yes, my grandma. Yeah, my
grandma's, and it's no longer standing there, correct?
No, it was taken down sometime in the 80s.
Okay.
Another house sits there because people own the land. It was 27 acres, and now it's been sold into little splotches. And I think like 4 different families own that land now. But the land that the well was on, that the house was on, and that the landing happened on belonged to one family. They own all of that.
Okay.
So,
And here's a deep cut for you too. Geraldine did a great episode of UFO Hunters starring Ben Hansen, where he actually came out to Kelly and interviewed Geraldine, and he takes a video camera. He gets pretty close to where you guys think this thing landed, better than anything I've ever seen. And so for you listeners out there, check that out. I think you can find that on YouTube or Discovery or something. But it's a great
on
episode.
Discovery Plus. It's UFO Witness, and it's on.
I'm sorry, UFO Witness with Ben Hansen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Great episode.
Sweet. Geraldine, what would it sounds like your family were very obviously hush-hush about this and the stigma that followed them around town, which I think is terrible. It's such a fascinating story. It's such an interesting story. And it's one of those things where this can happen to anybody. Your family didn't ask for this to happen. What did they ever give any inkling as to what they thought the UFO was, what these creatures were? Did they say this is from outer space, or did they? What was their take on all of it?
At first, of course, my grandmother was very religious. She had been to church that night, and she thought it was some kind of demon. That's why they were called goblins at first. She thought it was some kind of demon that had come forth, that she had done something wrong.
Grandma, it's not your fault.
It's not your fault, Grandma.
It was later on that it was decided it was extraterrestrial, because people came forward later saying that they had seen lights and seen heard noises during the day that day. They had seen lights, noises during the night that night. Well, actually, over 4 different counties, there were things being seen. And, even that night when it happened, there were 2, I got it wrote into one of my books. Well, both of them, actually. There were 2 young boys out working on a bicycle, and it was near dark, and they actually saw it. And
they saw the same. Now, in the books that I read, it was a rainbow-colored comet-like craft that flew overhead.
Billy Ray
Well, the exhaust was described as rainbow plumed, but the ship was, Michael, why we're here, classic metallic saucer, as described, and I guess it's in dispute. I've read some reports where it sort of careened off in the back where Billy Ray couldn't see it, and I've also read reports that Billy said it saw it go over the house, hover, and then land. So either way, whether this thing crashed or landed, it would be a couple hours later, they would, visit some occupants that come out of the woods. Geraldine, have you ever thought if this thing maybe crashed or landed?
Yes, I actually have a story behind that one.
Pray do tell.
I've got it written. It's written in my second book, but
great book.
Give y'all a little.
Give us a little tease. We're gonna
and then go get that book available now. Alien Legacy.
At the end of the episode, we're gonna let everyone know where to get your book.
Okay.
So
many years ago, after I wrote the first book, my husband and I were actually sitting in our sunroom where we used to live, not here, but where we used to live, and we were actually talking to a couple of guys about the Kelly incident. It's kind of eerie in a way, and as we're sitting there in the sunroom, of course, our house sat we were a corner lot. So there was a road going down through there. And there was this guy that kept on going up and down, up and down, up and down. And he would look toward us and go up and down. He did it several times. Finally, he decides to come up to the door where we're at. And he asks, is this the Sutton that had anything to do with the Kelly encounter? And I'm like, yeah, it's my family. He says, I need to talk to you. I'm like, okay. And so we all go out on the deck, and he starts telling this crazy story about his uncle was in the military, and on his deathbed, he decided to tell him the story that the Kelly incident really happened. They are real. Their craft left from Kelly and actually crashed 3 miles from it.
No way.
Huh.
They found it. Of course, they were doing searches the next morning. They took everything off to write.
That can be verified from the helicopter reports all over town, going over the skies.
And he said they took it to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Wow.
And if you know anything about Wright-Patterson, they've got a place there that they will not let people go near, basically. So, that's kind of eerie. And, when I tell that, I don't tell this very often, but people ask me, said, do you think he was crazy? And I'm like, no. He acted very sane. He didn't look crazy, by no means. It was his uncle that told him this, and he felt like, he had to let somebody know before he died. People do that.
Deathbed confession.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, you got to take it with a grain of salt, but it certainly adds to the story. I mean, that is compelling. And we know that there's a government recovery program, but Michael.
And was there any mention of bodies of these little goblin-like green men?
3. And that was another thing, too. My dad always said it was 3 or 4 of them. He said it was the same ones that kept coming back. So, that kind of made me think, too. Well, he's saying 3. Well, my dad always said 3 or 4. You can read some accounts where it says 11 or 12. Well, it wasn't that.
Right, which is false. Do you think that one might have escaped?
Well, we wonder about that, too. Because I'm sure y'all all have heard about the Hellier thing with the Newkirk.
Oh, Geraldine,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I know it well. We all do. We're big fans. Let's just jump right in. What do you think of the sort of this Hellier thing that Greg and Dana Newkirk?
So I just want to say
go
sidebar,
ahead.
About that. Before,
real quick,
before
of Gerald.
that even was in existence and they even thought about Hellier, they came to me. Greg contacted me years before they even started that. And he wanted to know if I thought that had happened, that one had got left behind or something like that, or they left more than one. Asked me if there were caves in Kelly. Well, yeah, there's caves in Kelly. Kentucky ain't nothing but caves.
It makes sense. It just,
And he even came down to Kelly and we met him. Really nice guy. We walked around, talked to people. There's caves in Kelly. Could it have happened? Sure. Could they have, reformed over the years and lost little ears and went pale and everything? I guess so. If you live in a cave, that would happen. We also got together again at Horse Cave in Kentucky. He wanted to get together again, so we all got together at Horse Cave, and they were trying to put together a little thing then. It wasn't Hellier. It was something else they were trying to do. They were trying to start some kind of show or something on TV and wanted me to be in their first thing, and so we did all of that too. But they're great people.
We agree. And you can't help but to connect the dots. Like maybe maybe your family's case is connected to this recent uprising of activity that they're experiencing in Kentucky as well. I think you're right. Those cave systems are absolutely labyrinthian. And if anything wanted to hide in there, it certainly could. And I've often pondered, if these things came down here on purpose to inhabit the planet, if it was a planned crash or, you know what I mean? I don't know. There's so many great theories about this case, which is why I think people love it so much. It has everything, It has the UFO. It has pilots. It has a shootout. It has a government recovery. It has, an abandoned alien. It has everything. And it all happened.
Yeah, well, you got to think also, there are cave systems running through Kentucky that nobody's touched, that they probably will never be touched. I mean, even Mammoth Cave, if you've ever been to Mammoth Cave, they've got systems in there they've never touched.
No, thank you.
You've never been to Mammoth Cave?
No, I don't. That stuff gives me the heebie-jeebies. Tight spaces.
I love it.
No way. I just saw this Instagram page where they show these diagrams of how these tunnelers get stuck and die, and it's like, oh my God, it's nightmare fuel.
We got a couple down here just across the river in Indiana, and they're beautiful. We've been to both
there's some beautiful caves, but there's also, as to your point, Geraldine, some untouched caves that nobody has ever laid foot in.
Exactly. Now, let's go back to these creatures for a moment, because actually, Bryce, this is the first time I've heard this theory that one of them might have escaped or been left behind. Geraldine, growing up in the area, were there urban legends of things, of cave dwelling creatures, or would people talk about that kind of stuff, or was this something that came along later?
Not recently. I mean, there's a Cherokee legend. I've read about this. There's a Cherokee legend where they used to fight off these little beings that were trying to take their land.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah. They they say, they are similar to the Hopkinsville Goblins, Kelly Green Men, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, I mean, it's been back that far back. So
remember Washington? George Washington reported like a green spaceman or a green man that came to him and delivered him information ahead of time about the battle. But here's this theme again. But here's a little side note too, and I think our fans will appreciate this. The family described these creatures on that night as sort of silvery, even metallic. One of the eyewitnesses described it as an old 5-gallon gasoline can with tiny little legs. So this idea that they were green is a misnomer. It actually came from the journalists the next day because they were making a play. Kelly green is actually like a real color. Right. It's in the color chart. And so they just sort of, as journalists do, they wanted to put together a poppy story and Kelly green men, and that's where little green men came from.
Yep.
So these were little grays. These were grays.
Yes.
Geraldine, tell us how you would describe these creatures.
How I would describe them?
Yeah, in detail. Yeah.
Well, when I tell the story, I just tell it like I was told. They were 3.5 foot tall, huge round heads, huge round glowing eyes, huge ears, arms almost touching the ground with talons at the end, and they would float on top of the ground.
Yeah. And when your family members shot at these things, it allegedly made like ricochet sounds and metal pings. That's one of the details of the story that I love. What was the theory behind that?
Well, I don't know, because why were they pinging when they hit them? They were hitting them with a 12-gauge shotgun and 22 rifles, and
Jeez.
you hit stuff with that, especially a shotgun, you're gonna blow it to pieces. But these little suckers weren't being blown to pieces. They were just pinging.
I put together this little picture. Even one of the witnesses described it as her metallic fridge from that time. I texted you guys all this, but there's a 5-gallon drum can and a fridge. I just want to get you the idea that these things were more metallic almost than organic. And Michael, I want to go back to your theory of like these sort of, the little robotic drones that are sent here that appear sort of organic, biological robotic drones. Could this be what these things are? Because they shot them and they reported it as like the sound of a metallic bucket, ding, and then these things flip backwards, right? They don't even get hurt. They do some backflip, and then they're on again. They're up in a tree, or so it's they're just it's comical almost how much these things evade these bullets.
Right. Another thing too that was special about them is they were coming up to the doors and windows with their hands up like they were in surrender, and that was something my mother was trying to explain to my dad, or tried to get him to go along with. Well, maybe they needed help. Maybe something's wrong, but they didn't know what these were. And who, a country boy, my dad wasn't gonna let him in the house.
Hell no.
And whose hair was one of the gentlemen's hair was pulled by one of the creatures on the front porch, right?
Billy Ray, yep.
So Grandma thought originally these things might be demonic, and then there were 2 boys who later corroborated that they saw this craft. Mm-hmm. When did it really begin to sink in with the family? Okay, maybe these things were alien.
Probably later, because during that night, I think it was kept in mind that these were beings from somewhere else, of course, but where were they from? The only thing they could think is, like I said, the devil. Because you got to realize this was a farming, poor country family. They weren't going to the movies and seeing these, movies where the spacemen were and all that stuff. So I don't think that was even connecting with them. It didn't connect till later on when, two and two got put together and more people were coming forward and saying they seen things that it got put as a, alien.
That's really fascinating. That's a point that we should take into consideration more often. I mean, this is 1954,
55.
but the idea that like we take for granted now that, of course, in 2024 we'd be like aliens, but everyone's personal mythology is different, especially 60, 70 years ago. So, and who's to say they're not wrong? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, we don't know what these things are.
Sure.
So it is funny that we kind of narrowly put this into the alien category when who knows?
Yeah, we don't know.
I'm curious, where are you with sci-fi and all of this stuff today? How did this shape your opinions and thoughts and feelings about extraterrestrials and the paranormal?
I believe it all. Them out there. I believe we've got things roaming this earth. You got to think about this. All right, this earth has been here a very, very, very long time. What, millions, billions of years?
Billions,
You've got people that have roamed this land and roamed this land and roamed this land. You've got people that have died, have been buried. Their bones are nothing but dust. You got ghosts everywhere.
Yeah. Yep.
Think about it. You got ghosts everywhere.
Yeah.
Animal ghosts, people ghosts. They're different origins and, everything. It's crazy to think about. My little brother.
Let me rephrase this question. Oh, can I rephrase it this way, Geraldine? Do you think that these goblins came from another planet and are extraterrestrial, or do you think that they're more in the category of what is known as ultra terrestrial? In other words, they come from this planet.
I never thought about it that way. It being extraterrestrial, I always considered, another planet. And I never thought about them being here. But, yeah, that sounds like, I could see that. Especially if they've been here all this time, like the Cherokee. If they've been here all this time living in the caves and stuff, who knows? Mm-hmm. I don't know if any of y'all watch that Skinwalker Ranch show, but
Oh yeah.
They're trying to barrel into the side of the hill.
Yeah, no.
We want them to just go ahead and dig the darn thing up and forget all the stuff.
I say leave it alone.
Well, that's what's so fun about all this stuff is its tendrils are everywhere in modern culture, in society, all over this planet. The paranormal, UFOs, Bigfoot, ghosts, you name it. It touches everyone, and it's everywhere.
I'm curious, Geraldine, have you or any of the other members of your family experienced anything beyond the Green Men encounter? We hear a lot of stories where later people who have encounters, what they would call UFO, close encounters with creatures from UFOs, will have other paranormal activity or other things happen in their lifetime. Is anything like that happened? We'd be remiss to ask.
Well, you know what? I can tell you a good little story.
Let's hear it.
All right.
Hey, you're at the Bigfoot Collectors Club. This is where we do it.
Back many years ago, before we moved here, we lived in Princeton, Kentucky. My husband and I had a little metaphysical shop. Okay.
Cool.
Awesome.
In this metaphysical shop, we had people that worked there. We had a couple. He would do tarot. She would do Reiki. We had another little girl that could see dead people.
Wow.
Okay. This little girl was like 19 years old, but she was really good. We became real good friends. And one night, she spent the night with us. Well, we all went to bed. She was sleeping in the guest room, which was downstairs. We were upstairs. She said this Indian kept coming to the bedroom door. So she said, okay, she'll see what's going on here. So she followed it. It went through the house into our kitchen and dining area. And this house had these huge windows, y'all, huge windows. And we lived out in the country. There was nothing around us but farmland, and our land was nothing but woods, thick woods.
Right.
So she goes where she's following. He goes out the window, and she goes and gets up there, and she looks out this big window in the backyard. And there's about 50 Cherokees standing out there.
Whoa.
Whoa.
So she tells me this the next day, and I'm like freaking out. Of course, she tells the other two people, well, yeah. Come to find out, I found out like a week later that the Trail of Tears actually had run through our property.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, my God.
That gave me
Whoa.
chills.
So anyway, after this happened, my husband and I were in bed. Our bedroom was on the top floor. It had these French doors that led out to the deck, and our deck did not have steps going down, thank God. And, you couldn't get up to it. I mean, it was way up in the air. Mm-hmm. That night, we were lying in bed, watching TV, when all of a sudden, bam, something hit one of the glasses. We look. I keep a flashlight by my bedside. Of course, I'm the one that's right there by it. Look, I'm expecting Bigfoot to be looking over the top of the deck.
Of course.
And there's nothing there. So we thought, okay, maybe it was a bat or something, Bam, hit again.
Oh, boy.
I'm like, no. So this time, Chris gets up and looks out. Nothing on the deck. He doesn't see nothing down below. He comes back to bed.
Attaboy, Chris.
Third time.
No! Oh, that is Bigfoot activity. Sorry.
So I do it again. Nothing there. So I cover my head up. I try to go to sleep the rest of the night. It happened 3 times. Wow. All right. It wasn't a few days later. Of course, Chris worked a job at the time, and he would have to leave at 6 a.m. So I'd get up with him. I would go back to bed because I wouldn't open the shop till 12. Metaphysical shop, you ain't doing nothing until afternoon and night.
Yeah.
Right, of course.
Your customers don't get up till 2 p.m., so you're fine.
So
They're
anyway,
metaphysicaling. That takes, that's late night stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So I get him off. I go lay back down for another hour and a half before I have to get up. And my cats are all with me. We're cat people, so we got cats. So we're all laying in bed. Tap, tap, tap on the glass. 3 taps.
I don't like it. One.
Go up. They're looking toward the door. And I'm like, what the heck? I didn't tally around. I got my little butt up, got my shower, my breakfast, and I got the heck out of there and got down to the shop.
Wow.
Well, when everybody got there, I told them what happened. Of course, they all knew the Cherokee Indian story, so now they're like, oh, we need to come out to your land, my tarot guy and my Reiki girl.
Yeah.
We need to come out to your land and look. So they come out there and they walk around, and my little dead girl she comes too. And they're walking around and they're doing all their, and they're like, something bad has happened on this land. That they see fire and all this stuff. And my little dead girl, she actually sees a woman. So they're like, we got to come out to your land and we got to cleanse it. I'm like, okay, just do whatever you got to do, whatever.
That's a lot of sage.
So anyway, that following Sunday afternoon, they come out and they've got all their stuff. I mean, everything. And I go out there in the woods with them. And they even give the blood and I mean everything, say prayers, everything. And by golly, nothing else happened.
Wow.
Wow.
But we did, when we walked that land, we found 3 huge mounds way back in the field. And they were perfect, beautiful, round mounds. And it's like, what are these? And we wondered, after we found out about the Trail of Tears walking through there, if it could be burial mounds. Maybe. We didn't touch them. y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But anyway, yeah, that crap happened, y'all.
That'll do it. That's fascinating.
Here you guys might like this fun fact. Sounds a lot like the plot to Poltergeist, doesn't it?
Oh gosh.
A
Well,
little bit, yeah.
do you know where some of those plot points came from? The remnants of the script Night Skies, which was a Steven Spielberg production for John Sayles about the Kelly Hopkinsville Goblin case that he heard from none other than the operator of Project Blue Book, Dr. J. Allen Hynek, who was a consultant on Close Encounters. And when J. Allen Hynek started telling Steven Spielberg about the Kelly Hopkinsville case, Steven Spielberg went, holy shit. And he hired, you know what, Michael, you're going to love this. He got his best writer on the case, Lawrence Kasdan, but he was a little busy writing something called Empire Strikes Back. So he went with his next best bet, John Sayles, Academy Award nominee from his previous movie, Piranha, who wrote the script Night Skies. Well, that script ended up kind of getting discombobulated and became what was known as E.T. More on that later. But the remnants of that script ended up in places like Gremlins, Critters, and, of course, Poltergeist. Isn't that wild?
Wow, I did not know about the Poltergeist thing.
Yeah, me neither. That's crazy.
I knew about the other one, Poltergeist.
So what do you think, we're talking about a big Hollywood director coming in, trying to tell this story. What do you think it is, Geraldine? What do people get wrong about this story? What's a detail or something that you feel like the other books miss or they don't get right?
Well, I don't like the fact they bring up the alcohol thing. That kind of sucks. I see why, it makes it more exciting to think that, they were drinking that night, but there was no alcohol, even on the premises. So, that kind of irks me every time. Here lately, though, when I've been doing stuff, used to, that would be one of the first questions asked. But here lately, it has not been brought up. So I'm kind of glad of that.
Because it's so easily overcome. Glennie Langford was a teetotalator, and that meant nothing on the property, absolutely nothing. And that means you didn't bring it in either. And if you did, it was your ass. No, there was no alcohol on that property.
Gosh, I remember her getting mad at my dad because he would do something stupid, and she'd get mad at him. Being little, she would get mad at him for little things, and I'm thinking, golly, if she'd get mad at him for some of the stuff she'd get mad at him at, I thought, gosh, I know she wasn't letting them bring alcohol in the house.
Yeah, no. So they all 11 people experienced this in one location. They all reported the same thing. They all reported it to the sheriff coherently and all together at the same time. Imagine that. Just imagine that for a second, I mean, this really happened to this family.
Exactly.
It's incredible,
Was there ever a moment when you felt your father maybe accept this, or did he take this story with him throughout his whole life and just not talk about it? Like, was there ever a moment where the family went, you know what, this is our story? Come to peace with it. Yeah, come to peace with it, maybe.
No, never. Never, ever. He didn't like to talk about it. People would contact him, want to talk about it. He wouldn't talk about it.
Wow.
I guess the last time he did was when that couple came to the house, and the reason they came to talk to him was to write a book. And he kept that little book. And
they actually published a book. Those two.
But it was a compilation of lots of stories. It was just one of many.
I still have suspicions about those two, and I wonder if that small publishing was a cover or something. I think somebody was sniffing around.
There's also a lot of
today. I've looked for that book and you can't find it. And my dad let somebody borrow it. He never got it back.
There's a lot of, at the time we know this from all the research this summer, there were a lot of flying saucer magazines at the time. There were a lot of smaller groups and a lot of independent researchers studying this stuff because, Bryce, as you know, the government really didn't want to look into it. They wanted to look into it for themselves. And
the government officially.
Well,
and what a perfect infiltration tactic to pose is like a couple who's looking into maybe make a quick little zine,
Possibly, but also I don't want to
suspicions.
I don't want to discredit all the pre-Club Scouts out there who were doing boots on the ground research and trying to find these stories for themselves because the government wouldn't put them out there.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Of course.
So who knows? Because there were a lot of books and anthologies around that time, like the Humanoids that came out, where these stories were covered. So you never know. It's just all part of the mystery, isn't it, Geraldine?
It is. I mean, it's crazy. What can you say? But we found an article that had my Uncle JC actually saying in it that if they ever came back again, if he ever saw them again, he would never speak of it.
Wow. So who knows?
And that's another question I get asked. Did they come back? And I'm like, if they did, they wouldn't have talked about it.
So when did you pick up the story then for yourself? When did you say, okay, this is a family legacy. This is something that I want to come to peace with, and this is something that I want to share. If your family didn't want to talk about it, what made you want to?
In 2005, it was the 50th anniversary. Hopkinsville got a hold of me, wanting me to come be a part of it. Why? I have no clue to this day why they got a hold of me. Who knows? It was a 4-day event. And they wanted me to be on a panel and all this stuff. So I thought, okay, I'll give it a try. I've never done it before, but I'll give it a try. And I found out that weekend that people did not know this story.
Unbelievable.
A lot of things they'd get wrong. They can get my daddy's name wrong. And I'm like, no. I found out that weekend that people loved it. I mean, they had all kinds of people coming in. It was crazy. So I thought then there, after that was over with, I told my husband, I said, you know what, I got to do something. It can't be like this. It's too good of a story. It's history.
It's history. That's right.
And
that's right.
That's when I decided to write the first book.
Tell us about your books, Geraldine.
Okay, well, the first book I wrote is Alien Legacy, of course, and because it is a legacy, and it's mostly the story itself. A few other little things are in there just to make it a little bigger, but after I wrote that book, people were coming forward and telling me things, and I thought, maybe number 2 needs to come out. People need to learn these things. So I did the second one, which is the Kelly Green Man. I kind of wished I'd called it the Hopkinsville Goblin /
No, it's a great name because it leads people right to it. It's the first thing that pops up when you put it in the Google search.
Yeah, and like I said, it's got the story in it. I used one chapter for it because that's for the people that don't know the story if they get this one and don't get the first one. And then I just wrote in, family stuff, and there's pictures and drawings, and I actually talk about the Greg Newkirk thing because he let me do that, and like I said, stuff that's come up that people have come forward and told me.
They're great books. I highly recommend it. You could purchase them both together as an Amazon Prime member. I recommend doing it. They're a must-have for your collection.
You can get them on my Etsy shop too. I don't have a website anymore.
Well, I just want to sort of have a final thought, Geraldine. We here at the Bigfoot Collectors Club have been sort of collating and curating these stories of high strangeness, and none have sort of inspired us and propelled us forward than these seminal keystone cases, and none of them capture our attention like the Kelly Hopkinsville case. And I'm so glad that you are sort of picking up this baton and carrying it into the future with truth and accuracy, because, this is a story that people want to hear. This has it all. And it's so incredible. And I'm so grateful to know you and that you came on the show, and we just love it.
Thank you.
And I'm going to print your BCC lamination card right now.
Geraldine, before you leave us, I thought maybe it would be nice hearing your story to leave everyone with something about your dad that wasn't about the Kelly Hopkinsville Goblins. What's something that people can take from this episode and go, well, this is what her dad and grandpa, this is what her family was like.
Well, you got to figure this was a God-fearing family. And my dad was a small man, but he would fight a bear for what he believed in.
Wow.
And that's God's honest truth right there.
Wow.
You know, and he believed a man's word was his word. And I know you didn't want me to say anything about the Hopkinsville thing, but, you know, it hurt his soul that people wouldn't believe him or the family.
Wow, that sucks.
Something happened that night to this family. And that's what I try to make people understand. You know, we don't know what it was. We really, really don't. But something happened to 11 people in a little farmhouse in Kelly, Kentucky. So.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Geraldine, for being here. We really, really appreciate it. This is such a privilege to be able to talk to you.
Yeah.
I appreciate y'all having me on. It was fun.
And do you have
Good.
a website or what? Tell everyone your Etsy shop again,
Yeah,
just so they can know where to
I
find
don't have a website
it.
anymore. I did. I just kind of got rid of it because I think websites are kind of a thing of the past.
Yeah.
I do have an Etsy shop, and it's
Hell
called
yeah.
Aliens and Goblins, all lowercase, easy to find.
Great.
Love it.
I will put that in the show notes of this episode, everybody listening, so you can go check out Geraldine's work. We appreciate it. Thank you so much, Geraldine.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. Geraldine Sutton Stith. I mean, pretty cool, Bryce.
She
Yeah.
is delightful.
I
that
mean,
was wonderful.
What a gem. I thought you guys would like that. And you know what? Nothing sounds like the truth than coming from the horse's mouth. And you know what? Geraldine's not the horse, but she's certainly related to the horse who would fight a bear.
Wait,
You
there
were
were
liter-
horses there too?
And
You're
that's
literally
horse-
doing horse math right
And
now,
that's
Bryce.
horse math. Well, look, there you have it, saucer fans and Club Scouts alike, a living legend within the strange and mysterious world of Saucerama. A true case that has spawned and inspired countless works of fiction, including books, television shows, and movies, including, as we've discussed, the likes of E.T., Gremlins, Critters, Poltergeist, and even, boys, a never-made E.T. Part 2, Nocturnal Fears, in where essentially some mean aliens abduct Elliot and his crew so that E.T. has to come and save him. Now that's a picture that we need to see. But
Yeah.
those are all just fictional stories. What happened to Geraldine's family was real. What does it mean? What do they want? Why are they here? And more importantly, did they ever leave?
All right. Well, before we head over to the Collector's Corner, I think it's time that we thank some Club Scouts who have recently joined us over on BCC The Other Side. It's time
Let's
for some
do it.
Patreon shout-outs, y'all.
Shout
Oh,
out!
yeah.
What's up, shout out?
Annie Hodka,
Thank you.
Dana Stinson,
Thanks, Dana.
Tom Funnell, or
Thanks,
Funel, as Riley and I recently pronounced it.
Funel.
Funel. On The Other Side, Bethany B. Cosmeteer,
Thanks, Bethany. Welcome.
Kimberly Castaneda,
Thank you, Kimberly.
Nathan,
Thanks, Nathan.
Charity Grace,
Thanks, Charity.
Alex Opapari,
Thanks, Alex.
Amy Aller,
Thank you, Amy.
Sun King,
Sun King.
and our favorite name of the week, Nerd Humby Cosmeteer.
Thank you and welcome.
Oh, I've got Need Humby. Is it nerd or
It
need?
It's
says
a it's a typo. It's
Okay.
I know what I'm saying when I say it. Okay, I know how to fix my own typos.
Okay.
Thank you. I always correct myself when I know I'm wrong. Join us at patreon.com/BigfootCollectorsClub and unlock total access to BCC with 3 bonus episodes every month, access to the entire exclusive episode archives, the BCC Discord, and more. You can upgrade to the Cosmeteer membership, the House of Riley, to unlock 3 music tracks from our super producer, as well as ad-free episodes like the one you're listening to right now, except without the ads.
Don't you
Okay.
don't want those ads?
Who wants those? I
you
mean,
don't
we
need
want the ads, but you don't want the ads,
We
right?
do, but we
That's
don't.
what I'm saying.
Paradox.
Let's hop over to the Collector's Corner. Bryce, Riley, what are you listening to? What are you consuming? What are you collecting? What are you doing right now? Riley, you got anything?
Yeah, sure. I just got back from Joshua Tree today. I was out
Ooh,
there
baby.
yesterday shooting a music video for one of the bands I play in called Pom Poms.
What?
I talked about that band a little bit on the show, but it's
Yeah.
That's a cool name. Pom
it's a-
Poms?
yeah. I play
If you're
drums.
counting that's 4 current bands for Riley.
I'm in 3 active bands. Spindrift is kind of like chilling right now.
Okay.
So yeah, 3
Spindrift's
active
not nice,
bands
but I
at the
mean,
moment.
since we've started the show, you've
the
like
Tommy and
Number 4.
Pom Poms.
Yeah, Tommy,
Yeah.
Pom Poms, and Pussy Riot Siberia.
are
Yeah.
all
Pussy
happening
Riot
right now.
Siberia. Those are all metal names. Dude.
So you were in Joshua Tree.
So anyways, yeah,
Sorry.
I was in Joshua Tree filming a music video for the new Pom Poms album, which by the time this airs will be out. It is called Main Meat, and you should stream it.
Great.
We're really into...
now this drops Wednesday, the 24th. Will it be out on
It'll be
Wednesday?
out.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So we're really into... Like, the band has this whole sort of, like, cinematic world around it, and we're really into, like, sort of like John Waters Camp and, like, aliens, and it's a lot of aliens and hot dogs, I guess is the best way to put it.
And may I say,
Great.
good looking band. Every one of you. A head turner.
It's a nice looking band.
Attractive, full band of attractive people.
Yeah. And the shows are so fun. So, give me a follow. I post when we're playing, but it's a really fun band. It's kind of like, it's sort of in like the punk world, but it's also very melodic and very accessible and really
Cool.
fun music. Jesse, our fearless leader and lead singer, is just such a charismatic performer and an incredible singer and a great writer and musician, and the whole band is just like, everybody's like top-notch players. So it's a super fun band. So yeah, check out the new Pom Poms record. And
Always looking for new
there
music.
will be
Put it in
a
your
music
Spotify
video.
algorithm. Let it spit
on
it
there.
out to you.
Yeah.
Get it on.
Go follow. I'm going to let everybody know I'm actually opening the vaults of my collection.
Oh.
And I recently have gotten into the eBay game. And I want to let our Club Scouts know where to find my stuff on eBay.
What? This is
Shut
amazing.
up.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
Michael's
So,
making some closet space? Is
Michael's
that- is that
secret
right?
stash.
listen, I'm going to be married.
Secret, not so secret
Yeah, not so secret stash. So people, over the years have been like, send us pictures of your toys. Well, you might be able to own some of them because
It's
I
boner
am
worthy. It's awesome.
I'm pruning the collection. Listen, I'm starting off slow. I don't have an actual shop set up yet. And I think I'm going to turn to the Club Scouts on what to name the store. Right now, I'm thinking about the Mothman Mart or Bigfoot
Michael's
Toys and
Mothman
Collectibles
Mart,
if it's
Triple
not
M.
taken. I like or Mr. Mothman's Mart or
Mr. Mothman's. Ooh, you could do a tongue twister.
I could.
Mr. Mothman's Michael's merch.
The other one was Mothman's Midnight Market. Which I
Marauder.
thought was kind of
That's
fun.
the winner for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone, let me know in
Mothman's
the
Midnight
comment
Market.
section
Not to
what
influence
I
the
should name it.
election.
Also,
M-Quad.
if you want to go check it out right now, it's just under like my eBay name, which is Micamac 7, MICHAMAC 7. So I'm starting slow. I'm gonna have some high end, some very valuable Lego stuff is gonna go up. I got action figures and a bunch of other things there. So it's going to be a slow trickle, but over the next couple months, I'm really going to like prune my collection and I got to get rid of some of this stuff.
Cool. This
Check
is
it
your
out.
chance to own.
That's right.
A Michael
And-
McMillan pre-owned collectible.
That's right. And if you do get something, let me know that you're a BCC listener and I'll throw in some stickers and stuff for you.
Cool. Love
Maybe
that.
even a little
Hell yeah.
personal note.
Maybe
might
a
be
little-
shopping
Of course,
there
I would give a
myself.
personal note. Of
There
course.
we go.
Of course.
Look at that. Look at
Well,
the
that was under
value.
and stuff. Yeah. You let me know. If you're a Club Scout, I'm going to treat you right.
go.
Bryce, you got anything?
I'll keep it short. Just been collecting a lot of field time lately. Cannot wait for the fans to see what I've got in store for them as far as another Bigfoot themed operation.
Now, wait a
wonder
minute.
what it is.
Wait a minute. This came out over your Instagram, but I don't think there's been an official announcement on the show.
No, not yet. Not yet. But I can officially tell you that it's officially coming soon. Really soon.
Season 5, we're talking about.
Season 5.
Season 5 is officially coming.
Expedition Bigfoot. That's right.
Fantastic. Okay.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. It's on like Donkey Kong and in such a big way. And you know what? We're going so big and it's coming so soon. I cannot wait. It's going to blow your mind.
Great. Let's The most edgelord thing you've ever said on the show. All right, we're crossing over to the other side to discuss the 1956 sci-fi classic, Earth versus the Flying Saucers. If we don't
Seriously.
see you over there on Friday, we will see you back here next Wednesday for an all-new episode of BCC. Until then, good night.
And go get regressed. Bigfoot Collectors Club is executive produced by Michael McMillan, Riley Bray, and Bryce Johnson. Our show is engineered, produced, and scored by Riley Bray. Our theme song, Come Alone, is by Suneaters. Follow them on Spotify. Want more BCC? For exclusive full-length episodes every month and total access to the other side, check out patreon.com/Bigfoot Collectors Club.